Hi, theater addicts. My name's Sonia, and I'll be reviewing One Step at a Time by James Melcher, playing at Studio 1398 as part of the 2018 Vancouver Fringe Festival. James Melcher is a life coach currently based out of Vancouver, BC, and he wrote the play. Based on the description in the Fringe program, it sounds a lot like an autobiographical story of self-discovery revolving around certain events in Melcher's past, including, as mentioned in the blurb, growing up gay in Cleveland, Ohio, and a meditation experience in Thailand in the 80s. I'm curious to find out what other events in Melcher's past make it into this show, what he considers his path to self-discovery has been, what those self-discoveries, what the takeaway from those self-discoveries is, and I'm curious to see how his professional life factors into this show, whether it forms part of the structure or whether it was the inspiration for him to reflect on his past and the self-discoveries he's made over time. I'm also really curious to see if it'll make me reflect on some of my past self-discoveries or motivate me to reflect further and make some new self-discoveries. In any case, really interested to see what this show has to offer, and getting ready to go in soon. Hi, theater addicts. I just saw One Step at a Time, written and performed by James Melcher, directed by Mike McKenzie at Studio 1398. And I've left feeling with the warm and fuzzies. It's a touching, heartwarming performance. Melcher's storytelling is excellent. This is a one-man show of Melcher's autobiographical experiences, mostly focusing on some moments from his childhood, his 20s, art school, and adulthood, and his lifelong relationship with his mother. I found the way that he approached talking about some of the choices he's made in life and some of his relationship with his family and his mom especially, I found that really relatable, and it's just a beautiful performance. Melcher has a warm, lovely, charismatic stage persona that works really well with the minimal set and costume design they went with. His costume, he's wearing plain white, the background plain black, and minimal props. He's got a chair on one side holding a bunch of large enlarged photos and letters. And so the medium, I guess, is a little bit interactive. So he pauses every once in a while in some of the moments that he's recounting stories he's telling, and he inserts some poems, some meditative chants, he shows us these enlarged photos, and it works really well for the performance space it's in. I was sitting towards the back and you can still see the photos. The one behind me, actually, the picture that's in the Fringe program is a picture of Melcher at a young age. His family helped dress him up as Marilyn Monroe. He does an excellent impression, even as an adult, and apparently he did a wonderful Marilyn impression as a kid. So this is one of the photos you'll get to see enlarged, amongst numerous others. Melcher also pulls out letters, pauses, reads the letters, recites some poems. It works really well for the storytelling structure he was kind of going for. It's kind of episodic, but has a general narrative flow. It works really well. Melcher has participated in the Fringe in the past. He had a 20-minute show previously. Tonight's show was an hour long, and he really filled up that time wonderfully. I could have continued to listen to him tell stories. As mentioned earlier, I think his minimal costume and set design worked really well and just placed more emphasis on the stories, and the insertion of the few simple props for the pictures and, holding up some of the letters. I think that worked really well. They had one moment where there was a little bit of play with the lighting, and in one moment it was just really fun they created an 80s disco vibe. And that was about halfway through the show. I think it worked really well to just kind of spice things up for a moment. One of the letters that Melcher reads during the performance, I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, but is him making a decision, or thinking he was going to make a decision at one point, to back out of the Fringe Festival for 2018. He felt like there wasn't enough meaning in the show that he was putting together. So the letter that he reads out on stage is something that he drafted to send to his director. And he ended up putting it in the show because he made a choice, turned things around, and decided to infuse the play with meaning. It's interesting that he brings this up in the show because I kind of felt like I couldn't find a main takeaway from this story, from this show. It was an excellent storytelling experience, and I loved watching Melcher on stage. It was excellent. He had a few moments. It was his very first opening night for this show. He had a few moments where there were some longer pauses. He had to pause and collect himself. I'm sure that will smooth out in his next performances. He's very good on stage. So I don't feel like I've come out of the play with any one main takeaway or message to carry with me, but reflecting on the letter that Melcher read, I think that everyone that comes into this show can kind of pull their own meaning from the stories that he's shared, and pull their own relatability with his character, him playing himself through and reflecting on various stages in his life. I really enjoyed this performance, and if you're looking for a powerful storytelling adventure with a little bit of poetry and meditative chants and letter recitations in there, highly recommend this one. I was expecting some more, musical segments, because in the Fringe program it says, I think the description reads poetry and songs. Wasn't really so much in there song-wise, but the poetry and the letter reading and some of the meditation worked really well. There were actually a couple of moments where Melcher's going through this meditation and you see him doing following the breathing pattern and the walking pattern on stage, and I just kind of found my body naturally following the breathing that was in the meditation. It was a beautiful experience. I'm Sonia, reviewing One Step at a Time by James Melcher, playing at Studio 1398 as part of the 2018 Vancouver Fringe Festival. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this and other performances at the Fringe, so please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to follow our Theatre Addicts YouTube channel for more interviews and reviews as they come in.